All right. So during this next 1 hour, so team, what we are going to learn, and if you, some of you could join the last session from Satish, you saw how we install the orchestrator, how to configure infrastructure requirement and all. It's a continuous to that where we'll now go to a little bit operationalization stuff, where after the installation, some of the key activities involved, how orchestrator is helping us. We will know orchestrator a bit more. So the agenda for today's primary topic is to bring you introduction towards the automation cloud, and focusing more towards how the users are managed, how the role and access is managed within orchestrator along with user, understanding the folder, and definitely modern folder, what it brings and what different roles are created to manage modern folder. How do you do that? Creating again the custom roles, and a little bit on license management. I also brought certain more governance controls like automation ops and other things. So we'll learn that piece as well. So during my session, I'll also bring orchestrator instance from cloud. So I'll switch between slide and the web page to walk you through the real experience while we are learning this along with the slide. Okay. And as Rohit mentioned, feel free to drop your question in chat windows. We'll definitely take those during the session or maybe towards the end. All right, so to get started, so starting with automation cloud, and this is nothing but one of our, like, I will sometime correlate to the previous session. So just to understand the audience, if you can raise your hand if you attended the last session where you installation of orchestrator, just to understand. Otherwise, maybe that will help me to drive the call. So if you just raise your hand if you joined the last session on orchestrator installation. Okay, so that's yeah, I believe these are all like you join for the first time. It's not a continuous in that way. Thanks for that note. So now in that way, so just to understand what is automation cloud. So as you know, UiPath Orchestrator is the central component, which is helping us to manage the entire platform, right? You have robots, you have users, package, manage the processes, queues and everything. But in order to manage that whole together into one, so that's where the orchestrator come in picture. And this is nothing but a web application at the end, right? So while it comes for in on-premise installation, where in your organization you can install through an installer with the required server, configure it completely. This is another part to that same architecture is automation cloud, which is nothing but a cloud-based SaaS solution, giving you the same capability what generally you do it in orchestrator, right? So automation cloud is a SaaS offering from UiPath, where you don't need to worry about infrastructure. You don't need to worry about what's all installation components is ready to consume, which provide all this key functionality. What generally happens is license management, user, tenant, package, process, and all different stuff, right? So you can just quickly snip your orchestrator instance, bring your own license, like activate that and start using it. So it's completely overcome all these challenges behind orchestrator installation. So that's the key benefit attached when it comes for a cloud instance. It's very easy to set up. It's like frictionless startup experience. You just configure. Even if with community account, you can spin up a orchestrator with a quick seconds. Like you just sign up to the account, and it is ready for you with some default license. If it is enterprise account, also the license can be ordered, and it doesn't take any other time than what a community account will take, right? And no IT involvement. The infrastructure burden is gone. It's completely a SaaS-based solution. UiPath takes care about how the product is working, and all infrastructure is hidden, right? So it's a collaboration definitely, and you can take the product faster as well. And one of the key thing is with cloud, it get upgraded automatically with a very like 2 weeks there is a release, and whatever the product get released as well, the upgraded version that goes to cloud first approach. So the products are available to you faster, licensing is managed centrally with the auto activation is automatic managed in background, and you have this license usage metrics available at cloud admin layer. It can be scaled at whatever the instance you have. Like you can bring multiple tenants, you can create different business unit, different tenants, and organize with one. It can scale to any size. So that, as I said, the infrastructure scale up is completely in background, and instantly access new functionality. Even if there is a preview you want to do, you can enable the preview within the same orchestrator and start using it as part of Insider if some of you are working. And check for changes. It's also provide the flexibility to track all the audit trail and everything. So that's where there are key benefits. But on top of everything, the key is at the time it really takes to create the entire cloud instance and start using it, right? So you don't really need to think about what all servers, what all automation suites and all different installation components, load balance and everything. So it's all being taken care of in background. So once you initiate a cloud instance, right, this is your first viewing experience is going to be. Every user will be able to see at least the home page and some resources as well. And it does provide a localization, so where you can change the language, change the theme of this, like dark and light theme. And importantly, you have this resources access, like any file you want to download, like a test version, you can always download from resources tab. Like there are community installations as well as enterprise installations. So if you are trying to share the link or get the link of any of the version, you can always get it from here. It's not about only the studio. You can also get important links for task capture, let's say, or any other runtime, Citrix runtime or different runtime you're looking for. So all this is one place store for all the resources. So maybe sometime you're looking for, okay, what is the installation of a version of X, which is previous version, right? So you can always get here. So other versions, it will give you the link of all these previous version downloads. So this is a useful place where you can download and start using different product of UiPath. So this is a high-level introduction to the cloud, but few of you may be using on-premise, right? So when it comes for the real capability of managing orchestrate like the jobs, process, user, and all, this capability is similar between on-premise and cloud, but there is a slight variance between that. That's just to call out that, right? So as you know, orchestrator, whatever the action you are doing on a user interface, you can do the same action over API as well, right? It offers the API capability where you can establish the connection, choose the API endpoint, and do all the required action. So this is possible. So, but when it comes for the usage, the authentication, there are a slight difference in terms of on-premise and support basic authentication along with OAuth, but cloud basic authentication may not be possible. You have to go by either token-based or OAuth flow. And the second difference is we are creating a lot of libraries, right? So we'll for our organization internal usage. So when you try to share the library, there is an option in on-premise which you can publish to a host tenant, which is your global tenant, right? Which manages all other tenants. So host tenant, and that library feed can be available instantly to all the subsequent tenants you may be creating, right? Now with cloud, you may not have any host tenant concept. If this library is there, you have to publish it as a tenant level feed, right? That's a difference. And password, if internally you have some password complexity settings which you have defined within the organization, so it gives you flexibility in terms of bringing some guidelines, password complexity, managing on-premise, but that's not the case for cloud. That's the key and minimal difference, but the other functionality remains same. So even I've given the link where you can find a detailed differentiation on this. Okay. So that's the difference between cloud and on-premise, as well as a quick overview about how do you start the cloud instance. If you have not created any, I'll suggest as a community account, you can sign up for cloud, start to get into Orchestrator instantly with at least 2 licenses available. Okay, so now let's understand the next part is orchestrator, right? So this is where our key topic. Now, as I gave a brief introduction about Orchestrator at the beginning, just to reiterate few part, Orchestrator is a web application at end. It manages the entire platform for UiPath, right? So which include everything what is come across, starting with user till execution, right? So user maybe, let's say we have developers, we have which where you may be giving Studio X license, or you have robot like unattended robots, or you may be creating processes, packages, publishing package, or thinking about, okay, I need to schedule this process. It should run on so and so machine, so and so date, and all. These are all triggers and all. So everything is managed at one place. That's your orchestrator is, right? Orchestrator helps us to monitor all these activities from one place store. While we creating this automations, we have two type of automation primarily we deal with, right? One is attended, unattended. Orchestrator helps us for both to manage. Attended as a nature, you cannot trigger this, right? Automatic schedule you cannot do for attended because these are all should run under human supervision. So a user is responsible to trigger the bot. But Orchestrator will help us to onboard the user, onboard the process, onboard the package, and user is just going to start the assistant and start the process on within their machine. So that what Orchestrator is helping us to host it, right? And the second part is unattended. Along with what is possible through attended, now unattended will add more flavor in terms of automatic scheduled as well, right? It will, you can define on a machine like, okay, I want this process to run on so and so machine on so and so time. So it will bring that schedule in the cron job in background and will trigger the process for you, right? On a in a regular manner or at one time. It supports all different permutation and combination which you can define how you want to run the process. So orchestrator takes care about that. So that's the key thing. But as is key functionality, it is with provisioning, like where it supports or creating, maintaining, provisioning the robots and within the application. You can also provision like configure the users as well, right? So that's the part. And deployment, where you are suppose a developer create the package, always the next question come, right? Okay, my development is done. What next? The next is you move your package to for others to use, right? We don't develop for run on our machine. So after the development is done, we deploy this package within Orchestrator. And these are the sequence of steps this happens, like your package is published, then you create a process. After the process is created, you create a job. And then that's where the job, maybe you trigger it, or it's a schedule driven, right? So that's where the entire activity of deployment is done over the web using Orchestrator. And while this is done, there are a lot of configuration will be doing. The configuration could be licensing configuration or resolution configuration, start execution configuration. All this is again taken care by Orchestrator. And after that, there is another component is the queue, which is where suppose you are working on a transactional based automation where you have to run a lot of invoices. Let's say invoice processing, you have multiple invoices. The robots should execute one after another, or it could be, let's say you have a lot of document you have to execute one after another. So these are all transactional based processes. So that time you will be looking for some tabular storage, right, where the data can be stored, and the robot is processing, picking one by one, and then processing it and updating the status back. This is the nature of some of automation. That's where the queue is one of other component within Orchestrator, where you can create some queue, and within queue you can load your transactions. And what bot can do is it can first is load the items to the queue, which is your dispatcher process. And after the item is loaded, you can pick one after another, which is from a performer, and start executing it and output the status back. So this is what the queue is another offering from Orchestrator, which will help us to load the items and help us to process it through bots. So monitoring is another which is very important as well. While the bots are running, the obvious question for unattended automation is how my bots are performing, right? So that's a question you will be getting it from business always. So That's where the monitoring capability comes. There are various way of monitoring available within Orchestrator. Like it can be through Orchestrator logs. Generate the logs. The robot logs are available through Orchestrator, so we can see that what's all is happening along with the messages being provided by developers. Or it could be some out-of-the-box logs as well. And it also provides certain visualization aspect to see how the bots are performing, whether it's working fine, not, how many processes are successfully executing. So you can always see those as a real-time monitoring from Orchestrator. It also provides capability as insights, where your logs get pushed to insights, and within insight you can see some additional dashboards, which is there are certain dashboard which is out of the box, like process, jobs, queue, ROI, or it could be you can create your own. So that's the insight capability, but it's a service, so you may need to enable it working with your account team, but that is another offering which help us to monitoring as well. And logging is what I mentioned, is it keep track of all the logs, including audit trails as well. For example, some of the actions are not done at robot level. Some action will be done at Orchestrator as well, right? So maybe allocating a user, provisioning some access, removing some access and all. So that's all audit trail. It keep maintain that. So anytime there is a need to know what's happened, which user property is modified or some robot property modified. So you can always see that the audit trails within Orchestrator. Okay, and it also provides the capability, one place store for everything. And even today we have integration service and many other components are released as part of the ecosystem, which is all managed through Orchestrator. So that's how as a summarized view is one place store, which helps us to manage the entire automation platform within our UiPath ecosystem, right? So a few of key points we'll try to deep dive now is there are many versions available. Maybe within your organization, you may be today the latest version released 22.4, or could be a previous version. So there are various organizations have their own policies saying which version they will be upgrading to. But always remember there is a compatibility matrix available, which helps us to know which is your client version and what should be your orchestrator version. Is it compatible? Oh, there's some things to take care. So the way to read this is this one of the snippet. It does have other components as well, which has listed in this. For example, let's say Studio of 22.4 is not compatible to 21.4 orchestrator, right? So this is how to read this. And same, whichever the version, this is your Studio product version, and this is your orchestrator. So one recommendation always is your Studio robot and orchestrator. It should be, it's one of the best practice as it is compatible, but one of the best practice, it should always be on the same version. That way you will see a lot of the challenges can be avoided if all three are in same version. So let's try to do that, and as well as upgrade to the new version so that you really take advantage of the first is the enhancement and improvement being done, which may be a bug in the previous version, and also the new features are released, which is pretty important, right? So now, before we go to licensing, I'll now show you some of the experience, what we just learned, the cloud and the overall experience with the orchestrator, right? So let me show you this cloud instance. So this is a cloud, but if you are on-premise, you may not have this particular view because this is a cloud admin portal. But for on-premise, it is only one host tenant, which you can log in from the same orchestrator host URL, and it will go to your orchestrator host management, which I'll not be able to show because I don't have a orchestrator on-premise one, but that's only for license management and all. But if you're on a automation cloud, after you maybe, this is my community account. So if you log into community account, you can see this is number of default licenses are located to you. So this is where it give me this many attended license, this many automation developer license I have, and for few more licenses as well, which will help us to AI robot, automation hub, task mining, and all other modules. Okay, so once this is done, this is from the home page. You can see, even I did explain the resource center. You can go to resource center, see these versions. These are all different versions are released, which is stable version. These are all different links which you can download. For example, Enterprise 1 20.10, I can download from here. So you can download this, as well as we have all other installers are available as part of the resource, right? So runtime, Enterprise runtime, task capture, latest version. So all this is part of your resource center, right? Now, a few things to note. If you're starting with Orchestra Cloud Orchestrator, the first thing you'll do is start creating your tenants, right? So that's where the admin come in picture. So that is your global admin. Let's say you created a system administrator for managing your platform. He or she need to start configuring this for the first time. That's where this is come in picture. The first component come is the tenant, right? So the way this is organized, you have one layer created, right? This is your cloud ecosystem. This is a cloud instance is created. For example, this is my own cloud instance with this name. Similarly, you can create your own instance with your name. So once it is created, you can see that name and URL. This is going to be unique for you. So this is once it is created, you can see organization setting. This is my URL. I can create my logo and update all these things, primary settings I can do. After that, once the instance is created, you have to, let's say you have a department who need to start using automation, right? Let's say finance department or maybe IT. So they will come with some requirement. Primary requirement is, okay, I am from finance. My data should run, for example, my robots, users, everything should be under finance. But someone from, let's say, customer support or sales operation team should not see my data, right? That's where you will come across your department's need is to have an identical orchestrator instance for themselves, right? At that time, you'll not create different installation. You'll not create different installation for each team, which is like, it's very heavy to manage. So that's where what we do is we create tenants, right? This is the term tenants come in picture, where you are tenants based on your organization structure. This is my test environment, so I just created development and test. But maybe there's one other proposal you can create is like, okay, I'm creating development, test, and production. I have very simple structure. Test is for testing, development is for development, production is for production run. If you have a organizational wise and different department you can also create similar way, say, okay, this is my finance production environment, finance ITG environment. So you can create many number of tenants. There is no stop to that. And once the tenants are there, these are all, you can say in this way, right? These are all logically separated individual orchestrator instance, right? Once your tenant is created, one of the service you get is the orchestrator. Within orchestrator, we manage their own robot, process, everything for that particular tenant here. So you can create tenant very simple. You just go here, provide a tenant name, select your region based on your GDPR requirement and your like nearest location, and provide what all services you're looking for, right? This is also important component. For example, these are all services available. It could be, depending on your license type, you'll see the service list here. So for example, I am enabling automation hub, which is for centralizing the idea capture, right? So if you provide this, now within that orchestrator team can start using automation hub, insights, AI center, all these services you need to enable. After that, user can see this available within that. I don't see inside because this is not within my available component. So that's why you don't see that. But if you have a license, whatever license you have, these services are listed here. You can enable, disable which service you want. But yes, orchestrator is default, which you cannot stop it because that's the default service, has to be there as a minimum. Okay, so once this is created, it will immediately spin, and once it is enabled, you can see that details are here. Once the service is there, the next important thing to notice, you have to allocate some license as well, right? So there will be at a host layer, you get certain license. This is your enterprise layer license. This is what the license I have. Yeah, inside I have not activated, so it's under trial. And you'll see this as a community license because of my MVP account. It is on enterprise, but you'll see that community license. But if it is enterprise license, you'll see this is flagged here, which license type you have. So once your license, based on your license, you need to allocate that license or distribute that license within this particular orchestrator, right? You cannot exceed it, right? So it says here very clearly how many licenses allocated, how many are free there, right? It is like unattended is 0 available because I've already allocated both the licenses. Testing, how many available. Solve it, you can see that how many licenses available, how many are consuming. For example, data service, I still have 4 units left, one I'm using, right? So this is the next step. After your tenant is created, you go to your licensing page from here and provision the license. Once your license is allocated, now the entire orchestrator will be performing the required action, like what we see, that provisioning, managing, and all other stuff, based on what license are allocated, what number of license you configure from here. Assume tomorrow your business unit come back, purchase few more unattended license. So it will come to your host again. You can come here and allocate, increase the license pool. So they'll see that number reflecting within orchestrator. So this is how one way within cloud we manage the license. If you are in host tenant, remember there is a different approach where, like within on-premise, you can do it in two ways. One is within orchestrator itself, you can allocate the license, or from host tenant, you can allocate the license. If you're using host, the experience will be similar to what I shown here, but it is orchestrator individual, so you will be managing your own within orchestrator. It will be activated there. So there's a key difference there. Okay, so that is the first step. Tenant, you create your tenant first, allocate the license, allocate the service, and your orchestrator is ready. So if you click on this, it will take you to the orchestrator created with this particular name. So you can see this is within my the cloud space. What is the orchestrator name? So this is how the URLs are segregated. This is my first cloud admin. That's the name I've given, and this is the orchestrator name. Same way, if I go here, it will be taking me to development. You can always switch between both different orchestrator. It will list here, which you can select and switch as well. So whatever the service I have enabled there, it will be available within orchestrator, right? So that's the first key step. After that, just to quickly scan through, you can add users for your orchestrator, invite the user from this invite user. And while you are adding the user, you can also add them to a group so that you can easily manage the license. So we'll learn that as part of some of the upcoming slide. Just scanning through this page, making aware of it. So account and group is the way where you can add user, you can add robots, and you can also create groups. These groups are dedicated to orchestrator group to easily manage users and licenses and all. And there is the approach where you are doing API access, like there are some APIs you'll create, start using API for authentication, like logging in and doing the work in background with orchestrator, right? Adding the user automatically from a background call or interact with orchestrator through API. So that's where you'll create this external app, provision a worth, create a token-based authentication, all different. You will go through that. So licensing, what we discussed, this is the page where you see the license. You can see how many available. Suppose you want to increase the license, work with account team. In background, they'll provision. You can see this license are reflecting here. And audit trail is something which we just discussed, saying what all actions are going on, who is doing what. So you can see that as the audit log. And next one is on the security setting, where you manage the authentication here, right? So basically, each organization has their own requirement in terms of, let's say, some organization will be using single sign-on. It has to be mandatorily used, right? So that's where you will bring SAML-based authentication here, where it UiPath here we have this wizard, configuration wizard. You're selecting that, you can start configuring your SAML, or maybe you have AD authentication Azure AD. You can provide all these details. It will connect to your Azure AD, Microsoft authentication, Google. So all this is supported feature based on your requirement within your company's cybersecurity policy. You can bring that and configure it. The configuration part is you just need certain details. Once you collect the details from your IT department, you can configure it. After this is done, the login mechanism from the tool will be like you can go with SSO. All these login options are enabled for you, right? And the last one is that's where you you give a name, you can see the URL, you can change the URL as well, as long as this is available. And you can upload a logo, so that will appear next to the UiPath logo, and see what all available resources you have. This is a brief introduction about your admin, tenant admin. How do you get started? This is the first step. If you are spin off your first environment, this has to be done for the first time as well, right? So you should invite your users. That's the important step before even configuring into Orchestrator. That's a very important point. All right. I hope this is clear. Let me switch to the slide. Now, let's go to understand a little bit licensing. This is a few part I already touched. When it comes for cloud orchestrator, the licenses are managed at the cloud admin level, right? Your organization admin who will configure the organization administrator responsible to activate the license. Like it's activated, you can see that. And once this license are managed there and provision the license provision to respective orchestrator, you can further manage your user license, right? Suppose I want to allocate someone studio X license, citizen developer license, or the automation developer license. It will further go to orchestrator admin, and they can provision and configure this with an orchestrator layer. But to manage your orchestrator licensing, you can add it the way I shown you in that tenant page, and manage the robot services page as well. But when it comes to on-premise, there are two options. You can go to host admin. You can log into your host from the orchestrator installation page, and there you can manage your licenses. Like there will be multiple tenant you can create, and each tenant you can allocate the required number of license. You can see from the licensing page how many allocated, how many utilized, and all. Or else it at organization level is nothing but an orchestrator level, where you can within admin and license page you can upload your activate your key and it will show you the license. This is the two-way. A practical scenario I'll explain. There are some department will say we will bring our own license with from our service team, right? So in that way, there would be some scenarios we'll say, okay, each orchestrator need to individually licensed, not necessarily be licensed from a central pool. That is the requirement being sufficed here, where you have organization level activation is going on, or it could be central pool, one license, then it can go to host, and host is managing everything. So that's the flexibility being available. Okay, and this is about orchestrator licensing, but when it comes for users, this is also very important. Each user need to be licensed as well, right? Unless this is automation hub service where you don't need to allocate a license, but at least access, user can access it. But when it comes for robot, studio, and the user primarily, they will be interacting with let's say studio services, right? So at that time you need to allocate a license. One of the key license type here is the named user license. Each user are configured. This is what even we are using today, which is named user license, where individual users are licensed with the required license type. So one good part is you don't need to bring any key and all here, right? So for example, I have two systems. I can log into Orchestrator from any of the system without thinking of configuring two machines separately. That's the named user license type. As a user, I got a license from Orchestrator. Once I log into Orchestrator with the required authentication mechanism, I am free to use the required services, like whatever the services allocated to me with the named user license. No matter what machine I bring, what number of machine I bring. But remember, all machine cannot connect at the same time. Because you are the named user, you cannot parallelly work on all the system, right? But suppose I'm working today in a VM, I log in within the VM and start working. Tomorrow I'm working in suppose another PC, I can start logging and start working with my robot. So that's the good point with named user. There is another license type as well available, which you can like multi-user license type. If this is there is a requirement where team are working on shift, like morning shift someone and other evening shift, same process to be run by someone else, but with the optimized license type. There is a license term called multi-user, and this can be, you can work with your account team who will help you to get this license type. But these are all different license different SKUs, different guidelines is available through licensing portal of UiPath. You can see which can be bundled, which is available at what SKU. But yes, there is also another option of multi-user license, where you can at least 3 distinct user account can be utilized through multi-user license, but not at the same time. The license will be consumed as soon as someone connected to the orchestrator, the license will be pulled, right? So that's the way this works. But yeah, most of the user will see their named user. You configure the user, I logged in, but irrespective of any machine, it will be connected. Just to call out, if you have experienced UiPath before, right? So previous version, how we used to do is you bring your machine, you configure the machine in orchestrator, then machine, it will give you a key, and that key you take back and configure. And this was the steps we used to follow. But that's now with named user license, you should start switching to this approach, which is much more robust, where the flexibility it brings is no matter which machine I'm working today, I will be able to connect and start working with the studio and robot. That's the key difference if you have not switched yet to this new approach. All right, so the next is on user management. We understand how to license, how to configure and all. Let me see if any question. Yep.
Sorry, there is a couple of questions on the chat. Maybe we can.
Yeah, let's take that. Yeah. Let me see. Okay. I'm going from top. Okay, one question I see. Named user license and multi-user license can you show in portal and explain? Okay, so multi-user license is not available in my SKU, so I may not be able to show. But named user license is, yeah, I will show along with the user management. Yep, how to allocate and do that. That's part of my next slide. Okay, and next question is all the options will be available in Community Cloud Orchestrator. Yeah. So the options what I shown you, right? The Community Cloud, you will be able to see whatever the services are available with out of the box to you. Some of the things you need to activate. Remember, for example, it is available under trial service, right? So I need to activate this trial, then it will appear on this left side. So this is also important. So unless you activate some trial, it will not appear. So if you use the same account, the services will be appear in community account. That is true. Okay, and you can sign up for some of the like automation. How you sign up, it will appear on the service. Yeah, you don't have AI center. Yeah, just see. I'm not sure community. Yeah, AI center is community available. Just maybe Murli, we can see that there is some activation maybe pending. You can go to your license page, see that robot and service, what all AI robot. This is where you can see how many trial are allocated to you. Okay. All right, so let me go to user management. So we'll see that named user question there. So the user management is something what you asked as well, like how do you really configure the user? How do you manage the user? That's where it comes for assigning a role to the user, right? The first step I explained in cloud, if you're using, you have to invite the user as part of the page. Like here, you need to go to account and group, add the user to invite the user. So they will get a cloud invitation. After you provide the email address, select which group membership they should be, and they'll get a cloud invitation. But remember one point, if you're using SSO or AD authentication, you may not need to invite them because this is AD, so connected to already your Active Directory, so user will be able to log in directly. But if it is not connected to AD, the invitation is mandatory. So once you provide, the user will be activating their cloud account. Post that, you can configure their role within Orchestrator. I'll repeat what I said just in case you missed. If your organization is connected to AD, Active Directory, or any of this SAML and all authentication, you don't need to invite the user individually, right? Because as soon as you provide the URL, using those AD authentication, like Active Directory authentication mechanism, they can access your orchestrator. So it is done. That layer, it is completed. So the rest of the permission you can manage through group and all. So the invitation is not required that time. If it is not connected, you are plain using without any AD connection, SAML and all, you have to invite the user. So after the invitation is done, user account is activated, will come for user. So you have to, now the next step is add the user to its certain role, right? So for example, I invited Rohit here as a developer, right? So what I'll do is I have to come to Orchestrator and assign Rohit with a developer access within Orchestrator. We will be having multiple orchestrator as well, but which orchestrator Rohit should be logging in, a user should be logging in. So you have to take care about that. That is where you go to individual orchestrator, add that user with the right role, right? So you go to orchestrator, that's where you'll see this manage access page. And here it says assign role, and you can add the user with the screens, right? This is how the experience will look like, where after you click on assign role, it will say search your user. If the user, if you're searching, it's not available, that means user is not part of the cloud account, right? Accounts and groups. That's why it give the link. You can add the user, select the right role, which role to be added, like be allowed to be developer, any custom role you created. And once this is done, the next step is to set up the robot. That's where if it is a attended profile, right, the user developer profile, then it will be attended, where you can select citizen developer, automation developer, whichever the role is more appropriate. Or it is a robot profile, then you will select unattended robot and configure it. Once this is done, your user is configured. Now, next time when the user try to log in, he will be able to access to the orchestrator wherever the permission is given and start working on based on the role, right? Whatever the role you assign, the user will be start working. This is the named user license allocation. So let me show you that real experience as well. So for example, if I go here as the orchestrator, I can go to orchestrator from here or here, because by default select one of this on the top, right? It's currently selected to test. If I click on orchestrator, it'll take me to test orchestrator. Okay, so this is how the orchestrator looks like, the interface. And you can go to tenant, manage access. See this user need to be added. Select assign user. Now select like type the user you want to add. I mean, what role you want to give. So this is where it give me all these options. I can create my own role as well. And here it give me the permission, okay, which category attended, unattended. And here, if it is a developer, I'll select RPA developer. If it is citizen developer, this developer license is now automation developer. And provide the domain name as well. What is your domain name? You can get it from your own machine. Who am I typing by command? You can get that. Or this is your login primarily, right? After this, you configure basic settings like login setting and all, and you can configure the user or not configure. It already exists. So once this is done, you can see the users are appearing on this list. Similarly, you can add robot as well, because user and robot are different. Robot is nothing but which is running your robot processes, right? Or robot account or user account. The other best practice, imagine this experience, right? Suppose I have 50 members, 50 developers from one department to add. It is not right approach to add all 50 individually one by one, right? So the best way to do that is you add a group, right? That's where you create a group. So you create a group, add users to the group, and instead of individual licensing, you can add the group here. So I can go here. Let's say there is a group called everyone. So you can create your own group as well. So select the group, similar experience will come. Okay, what you want to do with this group, allocate the license, and then assign this. So this is the best way where you can start adding the users as a group to this. Any change you do this to group, for example, tomorrow you decide no, this all group of this users should be citizen developer, is one click for you. You don't need to go to 50 users separately to activate their license and work, right? So this is a best practice. You can create group, add user to the group, and provision license to that group. So how do you create group? I'll show you quickly. So if you go to create group, you go to admin, accounts and groups, click on groups here, and here you can create a group. So give a group name, let's say Citizen Studio X. Right here you can select to whom you want to give permission to. Whoever is invited user will appear on this, and then add. So now the group is added. You can add multiple users in the same screen as well. It's not needed one screen. And this the Studio X is available. I can go to Orchestrator and add this group to the user. So that. So I go here, tenant, because access I manage at tenant level. So you have to click on tenant, manage access, select group. We created Studio X as a group, right? See, this is started appearing. So now, whichever the group name will give, just type that. It will suggest you. And give the role permission, you're done. So this is how we can provision license in a best way to all the groups. So tomorrow, if anyone needs to remove, go to that group and delete. So user access will also be deleted, right? So like normally you manage AD groups and all within organization, right? Similarly in Orchestrator, these are all orchestrator groups. So you can create orchestrator group, manage users and provision license. Okay. Okay, I see some question. So I don't see AI option in license section to add my tenant. So yeah, maybe it is. I need to check that if AI is not a, you need to enable it as a preview from Insider, then only it will be available. If it is not out of box community service, right? Which is possible. All right. So we discussed about how to add user. While you are adding, there is another. There is a very important part. Was part of this was the role, right? So the role is something which will decide with your given license what you can do and what is allowed, what is not, right? That's where the role come in picture. The good part with the orchestrator is there are certain roles are created with the very best practice and available out of the box for your usage, right? And one of that is your folder management, which is your modern folder management, right? So we'll discuss about modern folder. Sorry. Yeah, we discussed about modern folder next, but just to understand how do you manage once you got into orchestrator, how do you manage all this stuff, right? So this is certain roles available, which we can take a look. First is orchestrator administrator, which is the administrator role as the name suggests, right? It has everything, all the privilege out of the box. You cannot change that. Once the added, you are the admin of the orchestrator. Now there will be two activities primarily will perform. First activity is within orchestrator where these robots are all resides, right? They are all reside within a folder. This is the concept of the architecture. If you see at a high level, you have a tenant that is nothing but an orchestrator. Now within tenant, you create multiple folders to logically separate your processes, packages, and users as well, right? The process package queue and all. I will tell you practical scenario where you can use that, how to use this in real life. But this is the structure. You go to orchestrator, and within orchestrator we create folders. Right? Let me show you here quickly. So first was your cloud space, then we orchestrator, and these are our folders. Right? We create folders within tenant, and each folder is our container for our process, robot, and everything. Now this is where you come across and say, okay, what two roles are mandatorily required? There is one is a folder administrator, like who will manage the folder in terms of provisioning access or administrative activity within a folder, and the second one is execution as well, right? To run the process and package. The two key primary roles. So within UiPath out of the box role, you will get this role called allowed to be folder administrator or folder administrator. So allowed to be folder administrator is a tenant level role. So this role is created with certain by default required role, which is required for someone to manage a folder at a tenant level, right? And the second role is the folder administrator, which is at a folder level role. So if you are assigning someone as a folder administrator, remember to allocate both the roles. If you are, for example, someone is designated HTTP will go and manage the folder, then you have to assign this tenant level role called allowed to be folder administrator, and this like folder level role as well called folder administrator. Same for execution, you'll get these two roles. One is allowed to be automation user, which is a role which is required a tenant level permission for executing a bot, like executing a process. And second is automation user itself, which is real executing the process. So someone who is executing that role, so like robot, right, must be having these two roles, allowed to be automation user and automation user. Administrator also has to be two roles. Now, why this two role we are speaking? Because within orchestrator, we have two structure, two logical separation. One is tenant and second one is folder. There are certain services are available at tenant level certain services are available at folder level. For example, if you see here, if I click on tenant, I can see manage access, manage machines, packages, audit, credential, webhook. All these are all tenant level service. You'll not get at folder level. But if I go to folder, it will be limited to few things like operation activity of a process, like automations, which is nothing but job process package, monitoring the automation which is running, the queue which is dedicated only to this folder, your storage bucket which is dedicated to this folder, and testing and all. So that's the separation within each orchestrator, where you have folder, you have tenant. Tenant is managing at the overall strategy within orchestrator, and folder is managing only the process and packages configured within that. So that's the key difference, and that's where the roles are coming in. Now, this is what we discussed now, is uh, saying, okay, modern folders. So this is, as we saw this folder structure, right? There are two type of folder do exist. One is classic and a modern. Classic is set for retirement as well by UiPath. So you start discussing about modern folders. This is a advanced version where it brings a lot of capability. And this is what I was just explained. There are resources are separated in two way. One is tenant resource, folder resource, and tenant resource are like management at the administrator layer, like managing access, machines, package, library, skill, and all. But folder level resources are more towards job process, dedicated job, creating subfolders and all, right? And while you are creating this for modern folders, you are really taking care about uh, these are all the roles what we just explained. This is how the roles are assigned to the respective folder administrator or the executor. You create folders as and when needed. The practical scenario, as I was explaining, right? Let's say finance is a department asks you to create an orchestrator instance. So you go there, create a finance orchestrator. But now assume a scenario, finance has various departments. One is accounts payable, accounts receivable, tax, and all different departments, right? So each department also have a segregation of duty and data segregation rules. So how each department wise you cannot create different orchestrator again, right? So that's why what we'll do, you create an orchestrator at a business unit layer, and then each sub department, like the L2 L3 department, you start creating subfolders, right? So folders as well, right? We created finance, and within finance orchestrator we create API as one department, tax as one department, we create collection as one department, and maybe within credit collection there is three department, assume scenario, right? You have APJ team, Asia Pacific Japan, you have AMS team, time zone, EMEA. Each need to be separate. Then you can create subfolders. So that's where the folder creation depends very strictly your organization structure. Based on your need, you can create these different layers, and each folder is identical with itself. Remember, but if it is a subfolder, each upper layer has access, like down layer has access to the upper layer. In that way, you have to design. And you need to assign an administrator to manage this. You need to, who will independently log in and manage their own orchestra. That's the good advantage. But if you are in classic and modern folder comparison thinking, this is where this primary difference is the hierarchical folder structure. I can create subfolders with modern folder. Classic doesn't support you, and permissions are also very fine grained with modern folder, which is like you can create folder administrator like orchestrator admin. License management can be automatic. So this is a key advantage it brings if you are thinking about difference between both. But yes, classic folder is set for retirement, remember. So that was the key in terms of understanding the folder, how to manage modern folder, how to create subfolder. But I'll show you how the folders are created on this tenant level. You can go here. This is a classic folder. For testing, I've created that. This is a modern folder. It doesn't have any classic. Within this, you can create subfolder as well. So it will create within that. This does support, but with classic folder that is disabled, right? So once this is created, each folder has its own identity, process, and all this has to configure, right? So we can create this folder, give permission to folder permissions. All this is managed at tenant level. So this folder is permission is given to this user. Like by default, some user will be folder administrator when created, and you can add permission to group, to user. So all this is a bit flexible in terms of how you manage it. All right. So I do have one more add-on module in today's session, that is on automation ops. So this is about one more layer of additional governance what it brings on Orchestrator. This is one of the challenge which we always discuss within organizations. How do you manage code controls, right? In terms of everybody should follow certain defined standards, like standard naming, standard behind library usage. So that's where the code review is a very popular word people use. But that's a legacy approach now. Being the automation team, we need to think about how this can be done in an automatic way. So that's where the workflow analysis is further enhanced here with automation of is a feature within Orchestrator through which you can create, manage, see different rules available for robots, for assistant, for studio, using which you can start defining what rules you want to enable at what layer. This is a simple module which is being done like a prototype. Like, okay, these are all available within automation ops. You want to enable this, what level you want to enable, what it does, what rule check it does. Like this is a rule to check whether project JSON is there or not. Main workflow is exist or not. So there are a lot of hard coding timeout. Maybe some of these things you have familiarized when you are doing some coding. So one other good thing is if you start defining this, you'll also see every code is also developers are also referring this, saying, okay, these are all issues available, and start fixing by themselves with all this feedback and comment. So automation ops, once you configure and you assign a user who need to be impacted with that particular rule, next the user wants the login, the rule get injected automatically, right? And next time when they start running the workflow or analyzing the workflow, these rules by default force them to validate. And if they are not validating and these errors are left over, then they are not able to publish. That's why you can control a standard of hygiene within your ecosystem. All right. So this is there are rules available at Studio governance layer. These are all Studio. There are rules available at Studio X layer. If you are citizen developers, you can define citizen layer as well. And some of like infinite loop, secure string misuse, minimal log message, all this is you can do. So let me show you that in a real experience. So if I go to administrator, this is admin service. You can see here as automation ops service, right? It is not at orchestrator level service. It is at global. So that's a good part. You don't need to define it multiple times. You can do it at one time. So it will be replicating to all, right? So if I go to automation ops, so this is where you can add policies, right? Different policies. You can click on add policies, which um, layer you want to add the policies for, right? Let's say Studio, Studio Pro, and all. Okay. And after you create that, it gives you all these various options, right? So there are various settings here. If you see design, enforce workflow rule before publish, enforce workflow rule before run. So this is what you want to control. Like before publish, I want people must adhere to the rule. If you say yes, so it will help them to develop. But before they click on publish, this rule will be applied. They have to fix the issues, right? That's where it comes. And same way you can do the before run. This is one settings, and there are a couple of more settings as well, check in and all. And there are certain general settings as well, synonymous UI description, what controls you want to do. The main one is here, workflow analyzer rule, right? So which I just shown you that. So these are all different code, which is available in the documentation as well. You can go to UiPath docs, search this. You'll get a detailed description what this rule is doing, which I am shown you in my slide as well, but that's from UiPath docs. And by default, it has certain settings already there. Like it is enabled, yes. Level is warning, and there is no value. So you want to modify this, you can say, oh, I don't want this to be warning, it should be error. You can select here, save it. It will be changed to one error, right? Anyway, if I can go here, if you want to disable this, you can select it, save it. This rule is turned off. There will be scenarios you'll come across saying, okay, I want this rule not, it's not applicable to our organization. I've come across many things. For example, IDX is one property. Here it will say this is not, it's a error or warning, but maybe that is for like application setting, it is required. So that's where you have to play with some rules, and also you have to create it. And for example, you're creating some custom rules as well, like created your custom workflow analyzer rule, you can bring that settings here as well, right? So once this is all configuration is done, so you configure it where you want to publish and all, you just save it. I'll show you how you deploy this. This rule is created. After the policy is created, that's not the end. Your next step is you need to go and deploy this particular one to either to a user or to a group or some settings, right? For example, this is giving me this option. I want to give it to the tenants, like the rule is applied to all the user within the tenant. So you can go to the tenant. Here I say all automation developer must be adhered to the studio rule what we created. That means this is a tenant level, this is a super level, right? So at the tenant level I applied. So anyone connecting to this tenant get applied to this. But assume a scenario you don't want that tenant level, you want certain group. Like for example, there are segregation, you have a preview team, you want preview team to do whatever they want to do. But you have a dedicated development team, you want to add that development team only for this rule, you can select that particular team name here, right? Or else, say we created Studio X, you remember? So that Studio X, I selected the group. I want to apply a rule to Studio X user with Studio X policy. There is no policy we created for Studio X, so it's not showing. Let's say this is a group for Studio they're working. I want they follow the policy. So here you are selecting a group and assigning a rule to them for a particular application, and that will go to that. So all other users will not impact it. Only that group is get impacted. And the next is particular to a user. Like I want, maybe there is one particular user you want to give some exception for some reason. You can select that user and give exception saying, okay, like, or exception or give permission, right? So either you want to give some policies to him. I want this user to be impacted with this policy. You can add that user and that policy will be affected to him. So this is 3 layer. You can select tenant, group, and user and start this policy assignment accordingly. So that automation ops is a centrally managed policy. What will happen next is after you do the setting, if a user logged into Orchestrator, like logged in to the studio using that or assistant any of the services, right? The policy will get imported automatically, right? Where do you can see that is, I'll show you that. If I go to studio, I may be logged into my enterprise account, but I'll show you the policy being applied. Okay, so if I go to, so how do you see this policy is, if you go to help, just click on help, see the company policy. This is the policy coming from automation ops. This is my enterprise account. I have a StudioX policy applied. So this I cannot change, right? As an end user, as a developer, I cannot modify or delete these policies because this is injected from my orchestrator. Because I'm licensed, I cannot modify. So anything I'm doing has to follow the guideline created under StudioX policy. And if anything goes wrong, I can go there and start. It will give me all the error messages, right? It will just show me error messages, what needs to be done, what to be fixed, and all. And this is, trust me, this is a very best way to manage a scaled ecosystem. So assume you are targeting for 1,000 citizen developer, you cannot do 1,000 code reviews. So this is a way we can say, okay, these are our guidelines. If you don't follow it, you cannot publish it. So that's how we manage this cool automation ops feature. All right, with that, I come to my last slide, which is a thank you note with one of last tips. If you are on an upgrade strategy, do follow this saying what upgrade you can do from which version. Like, let's say you have this available in docs as well, where if you are maybe 2018, you cannot just jump into 2022 because it's not a recommended upgrade. You need to upgrade to one of the previous version and then you can upgrade. But which other versions are upgraded can be upgraded directly. This is just a tips for thought. With that, I'm open to see some more questions. Let me take it from chat. How will you apply automation ops rule? Yeah, I shown you that. I hope that is answer. Automation workflow analyzer can be applied to on-premise orchestrator. With 22.4 version and all, it should be available. So just Yeah, it is their component of cloud first. Yep. And the next question is, can you share authentication? Yeah, you can configure Okta and SAML 2.0. This is available in our organization. We have done ping federation authentication with SAML, and UiPath has a great documentation on Okta. So this is there. Okta is there that I'm aware. Psychotic credentials, that I'm not sure. Not come across this, but yeah, Okta and authentication with SAML 2.0 is available. Okay, what other question? Okay, I hope Murali, I saw that with your AI option, right? Just check that because few of the community event we have done with community AI center license. I'm sure it is somehow it should be there, but it maybe your account is not linked or not trial. Just check that one. Automation ops workflow analyzer can be applied to on-premise orchestrator. Yeah, automation ops is a new feature. It should be there as part of your new upgrade. If you're in an old version, it may not. I am sure it is released on 21.10 as part of the last version. But with 22.4 and all, if you're upgrading, it should be there already. Yeah. Do you see? Okay, 21.10.3. In on-premise, maybe we can see that in docs.
Everyone can also unmute themselves and ask questions. It is an option now, yeah. But you also have the option of posting it on chat, so that's definitely there. Any questions?
I'm just giving you the link where it has 21.10 release with automation ops general availability.
Hi, this is Harish. Just have a question regarding the insights. If I want to apply UiPath insights on my UiPath 2010 platform, okay, a multi-node, I mean, 2-node over running over HA, it required somebody to implement having Sisense knowledge, right? Because you are, tenant insights run on the top of Sisense.
Yeah, so that's correct. But this is now being upgraded. UiPath Insights team has done a tremendous job in terms of moving from Sisense to Google Looker. So the new version is now with Looker because of all these existing challenges with Sisense, and you have to install and having the Sisense knowledge. But with Looker, it's completely a different experience.
Okay, so the doubt is, see, when you trying to install the orchestrator, you get a default option, right? Test suite as well as the insights. When I try to use that option, I don't have to explicitly install it, right? Or have knowledge on Sisense then.
No, if you're installing, right, Sisense has to be like the inside. If you are on the Sisense path, inside also needs to be installed separately after your orchestrator installation is done.
Right. So you have a future, right? So whenever you trying to install the orchestrator, you have two options. You have to manually uncheck those and only choose the orchestrator option to install, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So if I am opting for insights along with the orchestrator, will it automatically get installed, or are there any separate steps that I have to follow to get insights installed?
Yeah, I have done Sisense based installation like last year. I remember that if you do that option, right, your insights to be installed separately. So that is not enough because just created certain services which need to be connected to a Sisense server, which will be installed in a separate machine, because that's one of the recommendations, right? Your Sisense and orchestrator should be
Sisense requires a separate database. Because it'll use a copy of orchestrated database for its data, but however it requires a separate database and a separate server. It's a
Correct.
separate service
Service
altogether.
altogether.
I totally get it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But that is while you're installing that, I don't know if you're installing through automation suites. Then it may be bundle it together. That's how the automation suites are meant for. But if you're installing individual, right, that time you may need to install it. There is some subsequent steps also you need to perform. That is not alone enough.
Okay. So let me tell you. See, our customer has only a standard license, so I'm not sure if I can like how to. I want to suggest this to the customer because there are multiple bots and we are facing multiple issues. Insights will definitely give us more, insights to our bots, right?
Behind, yeah.
Yeah. So, is there any way like I can approach one of you guys to help me give a package so that I can try it myself in a different server?
Yeah, and
because
also
we have a standard license, so our partner, UiPath partner won't allow us to use anything beyond what is recommended. So Insights is definitely not recommended there, but we can propose definitely showing that this is an additional feature. Customer will buy it later if we show the real capability.
Do you have a customer success manager with whom you are working? Like, do you have any CSM?
Generally, yeah. His name is Simon Tilbury.
CSM can help you with the installer and everything.
There is a challenge actually. He's from customer end.
Okay.
I mean, R&D, they won't allow. That's the reason I'm asking your help.
Yeah, and remember, Insights is a licensed
product. Yes. I know that. Yeah. So there is no trial version for that, correct?
Trial is available through cloud. So the best option I will suggest if you really want to play with, right? Spin up a cloud account. Insight is available as a trial, 60-day trial. You can activate it and you can see that all this Looker based Insight and everything is available.
Right. But we cannot integrate it with the environment, right? So that is the challenge.
Yeah, no, as in when it planned to go to business, right? Your customer account, I think you should think about production, licensed product and all. Yeah.
So definitely that won't be feasible here. Only for learning purpose.
Yeah,
not
you can
for
go
real-time use.
Yes.
It is definitely the customer management person, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. And is there any way that I can download that, or I have to reach the customer person?
Download installer is not in the resources not there, but CSM is actually can share you with the installer.
Can share. Okay.
But we'll see that if there is somewhere it is available. Let's comment. Maybe you can reach out to Rohit and we'll check that. Okay.
Okay, Sirish. Thank you. Thank you for the update.
Yeah. Okay, so I see a question. Can you talk about UiPath Apps at a high level real-time example? I will definitely touch this question. See, UiPath Apps is a low-code application platform which will help us to create apps primarily to deal with robots. Okay, let me help you with a real-time example. Assume a scenario. I have customer support team. Okay, customer support team. They will be interacting with phone with various customer support. Right? They receive a phone call from someone. Immediately, what they need is go to various system and retrieve all the product information. Right? There will be internal ERP, there will be CRM, there are many things they have to bring it, and then discuss. The discussion will be robust at that point, right? Because you have all the information what the customer is looking for, so that you don't put them, okay, let me wait for 5 minutes and let me go there, search that another 5 minutes. We as a customer, we get frustrated. Someone say that, right? I will tell you how UiPath can help you to solve this problem. So you can create a robot to, as soon as customer provide a detail, you let the robot pull the information from all the systems and bring everything into one screen so that you can verify what's going on. That's where the app helps at the end, right? So there is an app you can create, provide customer email address or product number, something, and click on submit. The submit button can link to a unattended bot. The bot will pick the information, retrieve all the details from various systems, create one summarized UI. Just like think about it's a completely API based automation. I've done it like within a second, it bring everything on screen. So by the time customer provides the information, you have everything in front from all the source systems. Now you can start discussing with them, saying, okay, this is what you see. You can also do like their create update delete all the required operation, alerting everything from that. So you need an app, that is the app being created through UiPath apps, and you are in a requirement of some automation to deal with all the system extraction and all and summarized view. That's what the bot and form created. That's the pretty practical example of apps usage. I hope that makes help, Murli.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
All
you.
right, no problem. Thank you. Any other question?
Yeah, hi, Shishir. This is Neeraj.
Any others?
Thanks for this wonderful session, Shishir. So, Shishir, I couldn't attend the earlier two sessions for single node and multi-node. Can I have those recordings?
Yeah, Rohit shared that link, right? So in that the recording should be there. I will paste it again.
Okay.
I will share it.
Okay. Thank you.
Here it is.
Thank you.
No problem. All right, so this session is really great because I'm getting a lot of questions. Thanks for being engaged and taking the through. And if in case any other question and still not having now, but you can always connect with me over LinkedIn, reach out to discuss.
Sure, sure.
All right, with that, I think Rohit, over to you. I think we are good to close.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Shishira. As I mentioned, the recording will be available on the web page by tomorrow morning. So in case you want to go back and refer what was discussed, or you want to share it with any of your colleagues or friends, please feel free to do that. Looking forward to seeing you in the future sessions in our UiPath infrastructure chapter series. Thank you all for joining. Please do reach out to me or Shishira for any queries or any particular topics or sessions that you would be interested in. We'll try and make sure that those topics will work.
Rohit, Harish here. So if time allows, if you can arrange a session after all the sessions that you planned are complete. So something like logs, log management, because it's very important, because UiPath is growing really huge real time, right? So log management, any best practices, because logs are definitely shared in database.
Right.
But if you have a new approach, you can show that it'll take 5-10 minutes of your time. And secondly, the storage. So multiple, I know as a part of single node installation, Ankit has already informed us in the session. Also, if you can carry out one more session on how the storage, different types is happening, one more session on storage and logs, that will really help. It's definitely required, right? For any, so something
Very
common
good thought,
things.
I like that thought. It's definitely, as you scale, right, the log number is increased, and as and when it reaches that scale, there is a management over it, right? So that's where you're coming from, and it's very much required topic. We'll definitely include it.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for the input, Harish. It's well noted, and we'll try and plan a session around it.
Yeah, definitely. It's just an idea, but all depends upon
No, perfect. I mean, that's
your
what
availability.
I'm also looking for. Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
thank you, Rohit, and
Thank you.
very pleasant session. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Shishira, for your time. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.
Guys, bye.
Thank you.